Before we get into transfer talk, you will absolutely love this morning. I have something different compared to Kyogo, which is speed and power. That is Shinya Yamada, and that's what he said. He's out to outperform Kyogo Furuhashi at Celtic. I hope to perform as well and contribute to Celtic. I have speed versus one-on-ones. I like to run behind defenders. That's one of my strengths. The 25-year-old had a goal narrowly disallowed offside. Some people have said it was the pass that actually made him offside, but whatever it was, he looks like a fantastic player in the making. At 1.5 million, is that enough for Celtic fans? What do the board have to do? Tell me this morning in the comments. What do you want the board, the PLC, to do when it comes to the transfer market? Last season, we were all a bit, we spent a bit too much money on two certain players. This year, the board are being completely frugal and not spending a lot of money. And yeah, we all know what's going on. But anyway, Shinya Yamada, he looks the man to be our number one striker. As it stands just now, Celtic are they still in the market for another striker in this window, or is that it? 1.5 million. How does that make you feel? Shinya Yamada went on to say, I've only been at the club for a week, so I need to understand each other's strengths and get better connections with some of the players. That part will come soon. Obviously, I'm a striker, so personally, my job is to score a lot of goals. I think what I'm being asked to do at this club is score goals. I need to demand things from my teammates. Give me the passes in certain moments. That's part of my game. I need to improve with my teammates, says Yamada. I like the sound of this guy coming in and demanding that he gets in better crosses. That's what you want as a Celtic player, isn't it? I mean, I said this about a young Celtic player the other day that just came on the pitch and started bullying other players. That's what you want, and that's all we need at Celtic. Anyway, there's been a lot of speculation about strikers, and one striker that could be leaving Celtic is not Adam Idah. No, it's not. It is Johnny Kenny. Bolton Wanderers did make a cheeky bid of £500,000 for the player earlier on in the transfer window, and Celtic knocked it back as they wanted to see how Johnny Kenny would perform throughout the pre-season. And you've got to say, when it came down to a head-to-head between Johnny Kenny and Adam Idah, Johnny Kenny's the man on form at the moment. But I think Celtic are looking at it and saying, can he really push for that number one berth? Does he need a bit more game time at a higher level? Now, Bolton did come in and say they want to buy the player for $500,000. Celtic are saying that they want $1 million, but they've also said that they wouldn't be, it wouldn't be too bad if they went out on loan. Johnny Kenny. Celtic will need to give him a new contract if he is to go out on loan, although Celtic value him at £1 million. Bolton are currently prepared to pay $500,000 up front, with the rest made up of performance-related add-ons. Will they sell Johnny Kenny and keep Adam Idah? Would you be happy with that? A productive season for Johnny Kenny, for me, would for him to stay at Celtic. He could easily turn into a £5 million player, quite easily. And I think if he starts scoring between 10 and 15 goals a season, it would be a good season for him. Now, with that being said, Adam Idah came off the bench a lot of last season and scored 20 goals throughout the whole season. So who's the better striker? When it comes to goals, that's how strikers are counted. I think you would say that Adam Idah gets it. But we'll wait and see how that one plays out over the next couple of weeks. We all know that Celtic aren't going to do anything now for the next week or so within the transfer market, even though there is speculation that we are lowballing players. And one player that we are looking to sign on loan is Jamal Simpson Pussy. That's his name. Google it. Anyway, it has been said by several reporters yesterday and over the past couple of days that Celtic are looking to take him on loan for a season. He is only 19-year-old, and Simpson can play at centre-back in both positions. He is valued at I'm reading something else. €5 million he's rated at. He signed a new contract. His last contract extension was in 2023, but it doesn't tell you when his contract runs until. And there's not a lot of details on whether there will be an option to buy, because you know that Celtic do like getting loan players in, like we did with Cameron Carter-Vickers, like we did with Adam Ida. And that's about the price range that Celtic like to go in for. Now, are you happy that we're going to get a lone defender in? And it looks like Stephen Welsh might stay this season as well. It's all great, isn't it? But the good thing is, we've got a lot to be happy about. We finished the pre-season on a fantastic game against millionaires, players that, you know, the Saudis just throw money at players, don't they? But Celtic held their own and, well, ultimately managed to win on penalties at the weekend. So, this week sees the start of training proper, you'll call it, getting ready for the Scottish football season, the rough and tumble of Scottish football. You know, playtime's over. It's time to get down to business, Brendan Rodgers will say. And although they've had their chats at their hotels and everything over the past couple of weeks in Portugal and Italy, and in the staff room at Lennoxtown, talking about the goals that they've set, a few players have let it slip that there was one that got away last season, and Celtic are fighting for a treble this year. I think Brendan Rodgers will want to get a treble this year. I think that he'll see it as his swan song, possibly. You never know. If I was Brendan Rodgers, would you win the treble and go out on a high? I think I would, because I think it's all pretty much bare to see that where Brendan Rodgers are and where the board are, it's miles apart. And the club is obviously going in a direction of financial sustainability on a massive scale. And I'm talking about banking 30 million a season in profit, minimum. The Celtic turnover this year again will hit around about the 100 million mark. We've had a fantastic amount of merchandise released already. And it gets you then thinking, what could they release between now and the end of the season? Because you know they will. But anyway, there is another player that Celtic have made a bid for. Yep. Young Jacob is another player that Celtic have been looking at for attacking reinforcements. You remember just last week we were talking about it. Celtic went in for the £5 million rated player with a £1.5 million offer. Yes. And finally, you wish you were Trevor McDonald at this point, because you want to end it on a high. But when it comes to the Celtic transfer, we all know that Celtic don't really get down to business until the end of the transfer market. So we're all getting overly excited about pretty much nothing. I think we should all start looking forward to the games that are coming up, thick and thin. Jacob is a player who could play on an attacking midfield player, played through the middle, which is the position that's taken up by Luke McCown. It's the position that's taken up by Arnie Engels. It's a position that's taken up by Rio Hatate. So where does he fit in? Is he the player that we're going to go for, rather than, should I say it, a certain Motherwell player? He can also play on the right wing and the left wing. Maybe Celtic are bringing him in to play on the wings, because let's face it, we are screaming out for wingers due to the fact that Marco Tilio will leave the club this week. He was meant to leave last week, but Celtic took him on a wee jolly to Italy. That was a strange one, that. Although it wasn't announced by either clubs, it was announced by a lot of the media that the deal had been done. And it looks like the Celtic are holding off due to the fact that we don't have the players in to have cover. And maybe Brendan Rodgers is saying, no, you can't go just yet, because let's face it, I do need players in. Now, the fixtures, the next game is the first game of the SPFL season 25-26. Let's get down to business. Yep. What's your targets for the season? Tell me in the comments. Tell me two things in the comments. What are your expectations for the boards and the BLC for the rest of the transfer window when it comes to Celtic? And what's your aspirations for Celtic this season? Is it to just win the league and stay dominant in Scottish football? Do you want the treble that's been elusive for a number of years? Under Brendan Rodgers. We seem to have regressed slightly. It is hard to win trebles. We all know this. It is hard, and you do need a fantastically healthy squad to see you throughout to the end of the season. Something that we kind of just felt short of last year. Brendan Rodgers and co will keep that in mind. But do you want to just qualify for the Champions League and perform better in the Champions League? Or is it just about being in the Champions League for you? We know that we're not going to win the Champions League, but would you like to just get to the last 16, maybe the last 8? Can Celtic realistically do that? Is that an achievement that Celtic can ultimately achieve this season? Next Sunday sees us take on St Mirren at Celtic Park. The opener it's not the opener of the season, as I've spoke about. And then we head to Pittodrie on the 10th of August. And then either on the 16th or 17th, we play Falkirk at Celtic Park. Entertaining Falkirk like we did last season, and let's hope it goes better the first half, because we all remember the first half of last season. Brendan Rodgers let a lot of the players that would be bench players take to the park, thinking, yeah, let's see how good you are. You should be able to win this easy, lads. And they struggled. So Brendan made quite a few changes at half time to make sure that we won that game. Ultimately, we went on to win the Premier Sports Cup, the one that eluded him the season before. Can he make it a clean sweep this season? I hope he does, especially since it is James Forrest's last year as a Celtic player. Yes, his contract runs out at the end of this season. After that, we head on to the 23rd of August. We have a game at Celtic Park again, 2 weeks in a row at Celtic Park. We are loving that. Will the Falkirk game be on your season book? Is the big question. Or will Celtic go, do you know what? Fuck off, we're going to charge you. Will Celtic fans, will season ticket holders get that cup game on their season book as a freebie, as a thank you, as a, do you know what, we're going to be nice to you paying customers? Anyway, I'm going to do a video later on this afternoon, because the boys, the Green Brigade and certain other fans groups have made some demands on Scottish football, SPFL. Did we really need to talk about it? Yeah, we'll talk about it later on. And after the Livingston game, we do have a little matter of a Champions League playoff position to play for, to make sure that we get into the Champions League. And then we end off the month of August. Yes, we're back to talking about blocks of games and being successful in blocks of games and hitting those targets at the start of the season, as Brendan Rodgers has done over the last couple of years. We need to finish the month on a high. We need to make sure that we are still in 4 competitions and at least 3 points ahead at the top of the table above that manky lot from across the city, because if we don't, the knife will be out for Brendan Rodgers and the Celtic board. Are you happy that we're going for a lone player from Manchester United as a defender? When you look at it, it is the Celtic way, but with players already left the club, there has been numerous players left the club already. Will Marco Tilio finally leave this morning? Shinya Yamada says that he's here to replace Kyogo Furuhashi and make Celtic fans forget about him. Well, let's hope he can do. Anyway, on that note, it's just a quick one this morning, as I do have some work to go and do. Have a fantastic day, Celtic fans, wherever you are, all around the world.